The City of Bristol, providing beautiful parks, economic development, and a family-friendly community.
Okay, I'd like to welcome everyone to the joint meeting of the City Council and Board of Finance. This meeting precedes our monthly City Council meeting. It is a meeting in which the agenda items that you're going to hear tonight have already been presented to each board separately, and then we come together per the charter to vote on them jointly, thus the name of the joint meeting. So that usually accounts for the lack of discussion and commentary that accompanies this agenda. Before we start our regular agenda, though, we do have some special guests with us tonight. I'd like to ask Edward D'Amato Jr. and Tom Arcari, who are our preferred construction manager and our architect for the City Hall renovation project, to come forward and give a brief update to the Board of Finance and City Council as to where we stand today after about 3 months of some work that's been done internally and some groups that have been discussing with our City Hall users what the future of this building is. Welcome. Is that on?
Hello,
Yeah, good, thank you.
Ed D'Amato Jr., D'Amato Downs. Yeah, I guess we're in the first phase of the city hall renovation. So right now we're getting ready to do budgets for Tom Arcari and QA&M. They're going through the program. He'll get into that with you, but basically right now we're in the first mode of coming up with some budgets and making sure we can fall into your end budget.
Good evening, Tom Arcari from Quisenberry Arcari Malik Architecture. So we're leading the charge primarily at this point. We've completed all of the programming interviews. We've met with every department in City Hall, identified what their space needs are, and they are currently reviewing that report and getting back to us. We will use that report to do preliminary floor plan layouts and concept designs for the center, which we anticipate happening within the next 1 to 2 weeks. Concurrently, Ed's team is working on a cost evaluation of the benefits to a multi-phase project versus a single-phase project. Our team believes that it will actually be less expensive to relocate in one phase as opposed to 2 or 3 phases. And it will reduce the overall length of the project from between 24 and 30 months to 12 to 16, 18 months. So that would have a significantly smaller impact, or let's call it disruption, on city operations, city staff operations, and the citizen patronage at large. So we've got our hands full. We're working hard at it, and if you have any questions, I'd be pleased to answer them.
Does anybody have any questions? Well, you're way below your presentation here. Do you want to just give a little bit of maybe detail about the single phase versus the multi-phase? Because we had started going in one direction, and now we're looking at another. I think that would be important for the Board of Finance to understand.
So when we originally pursued the project, the concept was the city was going to partially occupy the building, renovate the other half, and then essentially switch over, relocate some staff, and renovate the second half. When you take all the time involved and 2 10 to 12-month construction phases, it adds up to about a 30-month construction timeline. If we can relocate staff, all staff off-site, and find suitable accommodations for them. There's space here in the old court facility that we can use, and we may actually permanently locate some staff there. We're considering relocation of the IT department over there where they can find a home. That will help in the phasing because we can establish all the infrastructure immediately up front and then disconnect and reconnect each department as we do it. But the real benefit to relocating everybody at once is that we reduce the total construction time frame to about, I say 16 months, the contractor says 18 months, we're still fighting it out. But the savings, the 12 months of savings has a huge impact and cost in terms of recuperated general conditions costs to the tune of $50,000-$60,000 a month, as well as escalation costs. So every year we save on a project, we save about 3 to 5% total increase. And the way the construction market is escalating pretty dramatic fashion currently, I think those numbers are even higher. So if you're talking about hypothetically a $30 million project total, and you can save 5 to 8% of that project cost, that's a significant dollar amount. So I believe those savings are actually greater than the cost of the one-time relocation. Either way, we have to relocate everybody. We were going to relocate everybody in 2 phases. Now we do it in one move, and we pay for temporary off-site relocation. The plan would be that when all of the departments are going to move off-site, we're going to take everything they have. So we've surveyed all your existing furniture, all of your file cabinet storage. It's kind of painstaking, actually. But we're going to take all of that equipment and put it into the temporary provisions. These temporary relocation sites are not going to be a permanent fit-out space. It's going to be simple and functional. It may be a little uncomfortable for City Hall staff for the 12 months, but I think it's a small sacrifice to pay to see this facility reborn.
Any questions?
To the chair, this is Ron Burns.
Go ahead.
Is there an opportunity for certain departments to work remotely?
To a certain degree, the ones that are not customer service focused, we were in discussions about having some float staff like we did during the beginning days of COVID. But for the most part, if we are able to find appropriate space for relocation, we don't think that will be necessary.
The relocation effort is a little bit challenging in that certain departments, specifically like the city clerk's department, requires full relocation of all of their records storage. What we're contemplating, and I don't want to speak out of turn or else I'll hear it from Therese, but what we're contemplating is a full relocation of the city clerk's office, a relocation of a certain number of their records with them, those that can be kept safely where they go. There's specific requirements. The remainder of the records would be stored off-site with using companies such as Iron Mountain, who has done the same service for other cities. And she can request the records on a daily basis and have them brought to her facility for review.
Excuse me, could you clarify something that you said? Did you say the potential savings in speeding up the process by being creative with where you put staff is $20,000 a month?
What I was saying is that the construction management team charges a certain amount every month to have their team on site. The contract for those for that work isn't in place yet, but it's fairly typical for the value of that to be somewhere between, and this is a big range, $25,000 a month to $60,000 a month.
Oh, wow.
So I'm not privy to the exact numbers that are in the contract, so I'm not going to commit. So every month that we can save in the time frame saves us those costs immediately because they're not, overseeing the project. But I think the escalation costs really have a big impact on the overall project because we'd be saving approximately 3 to 7% of the construction that isn't completed over the entire year's time frame.
And I think what we're not thinking about either is participation from the subcontractors. I think a project that is going to move in 16 to 18 months is much more desirable than a 3-year project that you have to come in and out of. We're going to get much better numbers, much better participation. We can't quantify that, but it's going to be substantial.
Question?
That's actually a great point.
Okay. Yes.
Tom, in your meetings with staff about space needs, 5 years from now, the space needs might very well be different. How fungible kind of spaces are you going to create to accommodate the changes that may take place into the future?
So in each department, we try and accommodate a certain amount of future growth space. That doesn't mean that I did the same thing, sorry. That doesn't,
Sorry.
no problem. That doesn't mean that each department's going to grow by any means, but it allows a certain amount of square footage in each suite that if a department grows by a staff member, we have room to change the layout in that suite in a flexible manner. In addition, the current building is a wonderful building. It's built very solid. It's a reinforced concrete building. All of the partitions are reinforced concrete masonry unit partitions. Our plan is to gut the building. As Ed mentioned, one of the benefits to the approach of a one-time phasing is we can go in, you're not working around patrons,
Right.
completely gut the building, and now we have a lot more flexibility in terms of how we rebuild the facility. A lot of what we rebuild will be more like a traditional office building today. So we'd have drywall partitions, suspended ceilings. That makes it more flexible in the future. It's a lot easier to take down a drywall wall and reorient office space. So we anticipate trying to make the building more flexible.
Thank you.
Through the chair.
Yes.
I'm sorry. Hey, Tom, have you guys talked about like a preliminary schedule if you were to go, and if we were to put you in a position when a start of either demolition or construction would take place?
Yeah, so the tentative plan is to bid this project in the winter. So we'd be getting ready to go out to bid just after Thanksgiving holiday. Contractor would be putting their sub-trade packages together, bid it through just after the Christmas holiday into early January, and then look to start construction probably around April 1st. What has to happen is we have to do a sensitive relocation phasing. So in the summertime, we're going to be designing tenant fit-outs, temporary tenant fit-outs for wherever the staff is going to end up. Then the contractor will do a setup phase. So they'll make whatever provisions need to be made so that we can move everybody in. And while the sub-trades are being bid in, let's say, February or January, February, right after the holidays, that's when we would anticipate relocating all of the departments. This is particularly sensitive because it is an election year, so we really don't want to try and have any of the moves happening during the election. If I do that, the registrars of voters are personally going to come to my house and take it out on me. So I think the concept makes a lot of sense. It gives us enough time to make the planning and provisions. We have a very complicated exercise ahead of us to phase out and relocate the IT department. That's a significant task. We will be rebuilding their suite new and their infrastructure new. And that has to be right. It's an oversight in today's sort of construction industry. You don't think about it, but it's the tool that we all use and we rely on. It's essentially our lifeline. Without it, we can't really do our jobs anymore. So that has to be in place. If it's not in place and it doesn't happen seamlessly, then we're going to have trouble. So we'll be working with Scott Smith to make sure that how that transition happens is right.
Thank you.
One more question?
Okay, first to Commissioner Smith, and then we'll go to Commissioner O'Brien.
The escalation of costs from when Gilbane first did its cost analysis to now, and what's going to happen in the next 6 months. I mean, I guess you can buy a piece of plywood now for $50 if you have it. I mean, things have gone up 10 to 50%, so we want to make sure we have enough money. So I assume you're monitoring this and keeping people abreast of what the escalation is?
Yes, I think most importantly, we have to keep an eye on what design decisions we're making so that we can be sensitive to the increase in cost. The truth is we can't change the escalation.
No.
So we have to be sort of diligent about what decisions we're making so that we can try and temper the cost increases.
Okay. Commissioner O'Brien, if you have a question, if you can come to a microphone, or I can relay the question. Sure. Okay.
Next February, March, we will be 2 months into a budget process, and I want to be sure, since this is a joint meeting of the Board of Finance and the City Council, that the controller and the controller's office will have adequate planning, pre-planning, to be sure that they are able to do the job that we all rely upon them to do, especially since a lot of our determinations rely on also monitoring state and federal government financing. So can someone speak to how the controller's office will be paid attention to during that time?
So everybody's being paid attention to because really every department plays a critical function. So one of the activities that we did do was pull together an employee group representative of various departments and the different floors, and they meet with Tom every week or on an as-needed basis. So we are planning for that. We are thoughtful about that, and that is at the forefront of what we're thinking about in terms of if it is a single-phase relocation, where they're going to go, where everybody can continue to have access to them, as well as minimal disruption based on their needs. So that's all being taken into consideration. But just to keep in mind, every department has competing needs and competing seasonal issues that we're trying to address as well, tax being another good example.
Through the chair, one last comment. Sorry. So just for the viewing public on TV and everybody that's watching, how will they be able to visualize this project? Will you be sharing anything out? I know Memorial Boulevard has had some really robust communication, which I think helps with the community's engagement with the project. So just curious if there'll be any kind of website set up or how we'll communicate, what the plan is.
So that's a fantastic point. We haven't exactly established the website yet informationally, but a lot of the work we've been doing to date, for lack of a better term, is kind of dull and dreary. We have the surveyors are doing the survey, and so in the coming month, we're going to start to see a lot of actual development in terms of concept plans and ideas about the exterior. If the general public has interest as of right now, they can go to the city's website and look at the feasibility study that was done.
Right.
There were some concept renderings included in that. That is our baseline for our solution. So there was a lot of things from that solution that we're going to take and use in our final approach. And then some things are going to change as we find out what each and every department needs.
Absolutely. I know that could be a comment from constituents once we start to get more traction in planning this. So I appreciate that, having something to refer them to. Thank you.
Great, thank you.
And I appreciate you coming tonight to brief the Board of Finance so that they're apprised of it as we continue through these phases as well. And we may make that a somewhat quarterly or an occasional update as well.
That's fine whenever you need me.
Great.
Thank
Thank
you.
you
Good
very
evening.
much. Okay, moving on to our revised agenda. Our second item is the approval of the minutes of the regular joint meeting on March 9th and the special joint meeting on March 25th, 2021.
Move approval?
Second.
Discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Moving on to the consent calendar, item 3, there are 4 items, A through D. Does anybody have to have anything be removed from the consent calendar? If hearing none, all in favor, is there a motion?
Move approval?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Opposed? Aye. Motion carries. Item 4 is to make an additional appropriation of $375,000 within the Capital Projects Schools Fund for the corrective renovations at Green Hills School.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Discussion. Just for the viewing public, we are in litigation over some of the mechanical issues at Green Hill School, which is a relatively new school. We are trying to front-load the solution to those problems while the litigation is scheduled to start in June. We believe that we will be able to recoup this as part of the damages discussion during that litigation. But it's more important to start the corrective action now, so that is why you see this on this agenda. There's no other comments. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item 5 is to transfer $50,000 from the general fund contingency account to Human Resources for their professional fees for promotional exams.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Discussion. Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item 6 is to transfer $20,000 from the general fund contingency account to unemployment.
Move approval.
Second.
Discussion. Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item 7, to transfer $79,500 within the general fund from the Parks Trust miscellaneous account to operating transfers out, capital projects.
Move approval.
Second.
Discussion. Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. And item 8, to make an additional appropriation of $79,500 within the Capital Projects Fund for the Page Park Pavilion Phase 1 project.
Move approval.
Second.
Discussion. Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item 9 is to make an additional appropriation of $3,709,996 within the Road Improvements Fund funded by the Municipal Grants and Aid Grant.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Discussion. Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item 10 is to make an additional appropriation of $275,000 within the Capital Projects Schools Fund.
Move approval.
Second.
Discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. The next two items are resolutions which will require a roll call vote. Item 11 is a resolution increasing by $275,000 the appropriation for the South Side School HVAC upgrade project and to waive the reading of the resolution, but to include it as part of the minutes.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Discussion? Okay, starting in chambers with our roll call vote. Commissioner Makowski. Commissioner Mace. Councilman Fortier.
Yes.
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 And Commissioner O'Brien. And on screen, Commissioner Calfee.
Yes.
Commissioner Burns.
Yes.
Commissioner Tebow.
Yes.
Resolution is approved. Item 12 is a resolution authorizing the issuance of bonds, notes, or other obligations in the amount of $275,000 to finance the increased appropriation for the South Side School HVAC upgrade project, and to waive the reading of the resolution, but to include it as part of the minutes.
Move approval.
Second.
Again, a roll call vote. We'll start with Commissioner Makowski. Yes. Mace. To the dais.
Yes.
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 And to the screen, Commissioner Calfee.
Yes.
Commissioner Burns.
Yes.
Commissioner Tebow.
Yes.
And Commissioner O'Brien. Okay, and the chair votes yes. The resolution is approved. Okay, moving on to agenda item 13, which is the monthly revenue and expense report presentation by Controller Diane Waldron.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I'll keep this brief. There's really not too much to discuss. I know we just had our budget presentation last week, so a lot of information was covered at that meeting. Just want to update you with regard to revenues. The report that you had did not have the full month of March in it. I think I noted that in the report that we were at 93.3% of collections through March. Compared to last year, we were at 99.6. I did have the tax office provide me with the collections from March 20th through April 1st. It was roughly $6.9 million. So that would bring us to 97.9% collections compared to the 99.6. Again, there are collections that come in like on April 1st, April 2nd that they still have to process. So right now, I know in discussions with the tax collector, she's not worried about that. She said she's really on target right now with her tax collections. And again, the collection period did end April 1st after that deferral by the governor's executive order. Our motor vehicle supplement, same thing. We totaled $1.38 million through the end of March. The billing was $2.2 million, so I do anticipate that there will be a surplus in our motor vehicle supplement collections as well. And as you can see, the tax collector did provide me with collections, her charts through April 6th, and she is at 97, almost 98% in real estate, 98% in personal property, and almost 94% in the motor vehicle regular, which is typical. Motor vehicle lags behind real estate and personal property. Building permit revenue right now has exceeded budget. We are at $1.38 million compared to last year when we were only at 99.1% of budget, and we were only at $1.04 million. So still with 3 months left to go, I think that's a very positive trend. Conveyance fees, which we reported on the last few months, we have exceeded the budget. We're at 170.4%. At $1.4 million compared to just under $800,000 last year at this time. So hopefully that will keep strong throughout the rest of the spring, which is a good, transactions in the spring with house sales. Investment earnings, again, not doing well at this point. Interest rates really have come down. We are at $188,000 compared to a budget of $556,000. We anticipate we'll probably come in around $250,000 for that line item. And police extra duty, I did add that to this report. Right now we're at $1.42 million, so we are over budget in that. But keep in mind there are payroll costs that are associated with that. It's not a one-for-one, so there is a surplus and some administrative fees that are built into that. So there is a surplus that will be generated there over what the actual costs are. On the expenditure side, nothing really at this point. A lot of departments have been coming through with transfers for the end of the year for items that they wanted next year, that I said if you have surplus this year that you can use this year, come to the Board of Finance. So those should be through the end of May. We should have those at the May Board of Finance meeting, all completed, and probably through the May Joint Board. One thing that did come up, we are staying on top of the waiting on the guidelines for all the ARPA money, the American Rescue Plan, and also the state budget. One thing that did come out with all of this is that FEMA actually is going back and reimbursing us 100% for all of the costs. So we do anticipate that they will give us, we don't have to do anything from what I've been told. They will automatically go in and regenerate that 25% and send it to us. That being said, I did report last time, we have about $460,000 to allocate to the costs. We now have another $82,000 that will have to be allocated. So that will be reflected hopefully in the April, if not the May report. But we're still in the process of doing that. With that, the storm FEMA application is still in process. I know the Public Works Director has been meeting regularly with FEMA on that. And that's really all I have, unless anybody has any other specific questions on anything.
Are there any questions of the controller?
Through the chair.
Yes.
Diane, I think there might be some confusion out there in the general public. I'm wondering if we're getting any phone calls from people who are paying their taxes after the governor gave the executive order extending the due date till April 1st. I think there's some people out there who think that means they're not due until April 30th. Do you know if we got any phone calls about that kind of stuff?
I have not. The tax collector has not mentioned anything to me, but I can definitely follow up with her tomorrow just to make sure.
You might want to, because a lot of people pay towards the end of the month if they think they have that 30-day grace period, and we might make sure our staff's prepared.
Yep, I can double check with her, and if not, maybe she could put something on the website
Thank you.
to that effect.
Yeah, I believe it is on the website, and we
It
have
is?
not received any calls, which we have in the past. You did, yeah. So, yeah, we can check that. Okay, any other questions for the controller? Okay,
Thank you.
is there any other business to come before the joint meeting? There is one thing. I can't remember if we've done it both for the city council, but I know that we discussed it at the Board of Finance, and I am going to utilize the economic emergency edict through Bristol City Ordinance, Section 2-11, and I'll just read the letter into the record for joint meeting. It's dated today. To the members of the City Council and Board of Finance, federal funds are anticipated from the American Rescue Plan as well as state funding included in the governor's biennial budget. Due to the pending guidance from the Department of Treasury on the American Rescue Plan funds, anticipated no later than May 11th, the timing of the state adoption process, as well as the uncertainty surrounding the pandemic and the city's response to allocate these resources, I am respectfully declaring an economic emergency pursuant to Bristol City Ordinance, Section 2-11. This action will afford the joint meeting of the City of Bristol, City Council, and Board of Finance the opportunity to delay the adoption of our final budget until Tuesday, May 25th, 2021, which happens to be the regular meeting of the Board of Finance. This action will allow additional time to responsibly react to the full financial impact from both the American Rescue Plan and the state budget as a part of our budget process and the manner in which it will affect the taxpayers of the City of Bristol. Respectfully submitted, Ellen Zappo-Sassu, Mayor. So I'll leave copies of that with all of you for your records, and I will turn one into the Town and City Clerk at the end of this meeting. If there is no other business, then I will ask for a motion to adjourn.
Move approval.
Second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. For the record, Therese, if you could just note that Commissioner Jones has joined the joint meeting, so he can be reflected in the attendance. I missed him earlier. And I would just like to invite our virtual guests to stay on this call. We are going to take a brief break, and then we will reconvene for the City Council meeting in about 2 minutes. Okay, good evening, everyone. I'd like to welcome you to the monthly meeting of the City Council for Tuesday, April 13th. Our first order of business is for the Pledge of Allegiance. So please join us as we salute the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. For our opening ceremonies, we typically have a moment of reflection. Today is the beginning of the Muslim holiday, Ramadan, so we're just going to take a brief moment to reflect on the 3 stages of Ramadan. We do have a growing Muslim community here in Bristol, and over the course of the next 30 days, they will be fasting from sunup until sundown and concentrating on days of mercy, days of forgiveness, and days of salvation as they reaffirm their faith. So for just a moment, I think we can reflect on the year that we've had and how much of it was based on our faith and our hope that things were going to get better through the pandemic, and think about the sacrifices of our Muslim friends and neighbors over the course of the next 30 days. Thank you. Our next opening ceremonies, I'm going to turn the microphone over to Councilman Peter Kelly from the 2nd District to introduce our VIP guests that are joining us here in Chambers tonight.
Thank you, Mayor. Dave Proleski and myself represent the 2nd District, which Bristol Central happens to be in, and we're both Bristol Central parents. Our 4 children combined went to Bristol Central. All 4 participated in athletics there, so we're well aware of the excellence expected by teachers, administrators, and coaches, and our children were the beneficiaries of that. So hence is why I'm up here, and thank you to Dave for deferring to me and giving me this opportunity. I'd like to speak of Bristol Central boys basketball team that had a fantastic year in the face of much adversity. I'm going to go over some of their accomplishments. They were 12-0 in their divisional record of the CCC South, I believe it still is, and 15-0 overall record with a #1 state ranking. They won the overall CCC tournament by defeating the #1 ranked team in the state, the #2, and the #4, all in the same week. And Bristol Central was ranked 5th prior to that, entering the tournament. So they did not backdoor it coming into this tournament. They kicked the front door down. They did a great job in a hostile environment. They had 3 players named to the all-conference team, and they are Damian Glasper, Donovan Klingen, and Sean Winiger. And they also had 7 players named to the all-conference, all-academic team, and had 0 COVID-19 related shutdowns through the year. And individually, Donovan Klingen was named the Max Preps and New Haven Register Connecticut State Player of the Year. So it was quite a season, and the mayor, the city council, and all of Bristol would like to thank you and congratulate you for a great season. The Rams are coached by a gentleman by the name of Tim Barrett and a good friend of mine, the assistant coach, Joe DeFlippi. So I would like Tim to come up now and say a few words about his team.
Hi, good evening. First off, I'd like to thank Councilman Peter Kelly for the invitation to tonight's City Council meeting. I also would like to thank Mayor Zaposasu, City Council members, and all city dignitaries in attendance tonight. I would also like to thank my administration for their support, led by Principal Pete Wittinger, who's in attendance tonight, and Athletic Director Chris Casson. I would also like to thank my coaching staff, Joe DeFlippi, Kyle Phelan, and Keith Lipscomb. They say you're only as good as your assistants, and I have 3 of the best. One of the scariest words they use in athletics is the word potential. Our coaching staff knew we had a ton of potential coming into the season, but questions remained. Would we live up to it? I can now confidently say we did more than that. Finishing the season a perfect 12-0 in our division, securing the 4 seed, and securing the #5 ranking in the state going into the tournament would have been classified as a successful season by most outsiders looking in, but not for my players and staff. We came together on the morning of March 20th for the start of our championship season, a 1-week playoff run that would bring these student athletes a look of happiness on their face I had not seen since this pandemic started in March of 2020. On that Saturday morning, I felt an energy in the gym that I hadn't seen all year. The look was one of focus, determination, and excitement, all wrapped into one 90-minute practice session. We were about to go on a run that will be remembered in Bristol sports history. As the head coach of the Bristol Central Rams, I was able to coach a genuinely great group of student athletes this season. Their character, hard work, and toughness was on display the entire season. We were able to make it through our entire season without a COVID shutdown, which was a testament to our willingness to sacrifice personal choices for the betterment of the team and the want to reach our overall team goal. We started this year with 3 goals: win the division, go undefeated, and win the CCC tournament. We were able to accomplish all 3 goals this season, and I couldn't be prouder of this group of young men. Up on the hill, I have a group of gamers, players who want the ball in the biggest moments. And this attitude, gentlemen, will allow you to succeed not on the basketball court, but in life itself. I recently received a trophy from the New Haven Register recognizing our accomplishments this year, as we have been named the #1 team in the state of Connecticut. So congratulations to Bristol Central, the boys on the team, and the entire city of Bristol. At this time, I would like to present to my players a plaque recognizing their accomplishments and all they've accomplished this season. So when I call you, if you guys could just slide through. Senior Dominic Amara. Senior Elijah Rodriguez. Senior Deontay Ross. Senior Trey Jones. Senior Devin Astacio. Senior Captain Sean Winninger. Junior Captain Donovan Klingon. Junior Damian Glasper. Junior Carson Ravora. Junior Aaron Brown. Sophomore Mason Stokes. Sophomore Jason Van Beveren. I want to thank you for this opportunity to honor these boys who have worked so hard this season and deserve this recognition. I can't tell you, gentlemen, how proud I am to be your coach. Thank you.
Thank you, Coach Barrett. And on behalf of the City Council, I'd really like to thank all of you for taking time to come here tonight and share your victory. With us unable to be able to support high school sports in general and in person, it's great to be able to follow in the newspapers. And I think it's important for all of you to know that people followed your team and they took a little bit of happiness away from knowing that good things were happening, that Bristol was being represented, and that you were achieving the success that you were. So never forget the importance of being part of a hometown that will always cheer from you, whether from afar or from in person, or congratulate you when they see you. You definitely represent something for Bristol, and being the sports town that we are, I think that you should know that far and wide, people really appreciated following this season as we're hopefully coming out of COVID and seeing more for spring sports moving forward. So again, thank you for coming tonight and being a part of this. We're so happy that you're here and so proud of all that you've accomplished. So I'm thinking you probably don't want to stay for the rest of the meeting. So we'll take a 30-second break to allow you and your parents, who again should also be thanked for supporting you through this season. Thank you for coming, and hopefully we'll see you at the next sporting event. Thank you.
Great job. Great job.
Okay. We should have had snacks. Okay. Okay. Okay, we're going to get back on track, and our first item We're going to go back up to agenda item 2, which is the approval of the minutes of the regular city council meeting that was held on March 9th, 2021, and the special city council meeting that was held on March 25th, 2021.
Move it.
Second.
Any corrections or changes needed to the minutes as circulated? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, we already handled the basketball team under announcements. So now we're going to do public participation. And as I said, we're going to start in chambers first, and then we will move to the virtual presentation of anybody who would like to speak. The only person who is signed up within chambers is Jeff Caggiano on charter revision or reform.
Good evening. Jeff Caggiano, 27 Cricket Hill Road. I want to talk about the Charter Revision Committee's recommendation that will be coming to all of you. I think tonight you guys will put it on the agenda for next month. I'm hoping I get back to normal here and I can get out and travel a little bit, so I might not be able to make next month's meeting, so I wanted to address you all this month. And really what I wanted to do was give a historical perspective from somebody who's actually been involved with the Charter Revision Committee since 2015. As the RTC chair, I've been invited to come and give perspective, and in many cases have agreed with many of you at the Charter Revision Committee meetings. One of the things, though, that is disturbing me a little bit is that in 2013, there was a split decision by a city council just like you to go ahead and place term limits on the ballot. At that time, too, I went back and I FOI'd these, by the way.
Jeff, speak real close so people online can hear you.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that. So in 2013, 4 Republicans voted for term limits to go ahead on the city ballot. Obviously, that'll be your task in the next next month to talk about this. 2 Democrats and 1 Republican actually voted against term limits at that time. So I would say it may not be a straightforward issue at that point in 2013. But surprisingly, or maybe not surprisingly, 78.3% of the voters that showed up in November of 2013 overwhelmingly approved term limits in this city. So that has been part of our charter since 2013. In 2013, there was case law on both sides that people could use as arguments whether term limits are something that are valid or not. So during this Charter Revision Committee hearings, it was brought to the attention of that committee that term limits are illegal, is kind of the quick and easy way to say it. There are 2 different opposing legal views on that. It could be that the powers are not expressly delegated to the city by the state because it's not in the state charter. That's one. Cases with that were heard in 1985 and 1979, so there's some case law there, but none of them directly impacted term limits. As a matter of fact, the city of Bristol is one of, I think, only 5 communities that has recall provision, which is one of these cases. And via a special act, we were able to keep recall, and we have that, and that's something unique to Bristol. On the other side, there's been case law that looks at home rule to decide whether the city can enact charter revisions that are appropriate for the city. So those were, and I think that one was 1979, that case law from New Canaan. In 2013, there was no case law new or different than that. And as a matter of fact, I'm going to share one piece of information for all of you. And certainly, I'm not a lawyer. I don't want to play one on TV. I'm not trying to be a lawyer here. But this is a legal case that I believe should be heard by judges. And we had 2 lawyers that presented to the Charter Revision Committee. I'm certain that they will probably present to you next month, or at least one of them will. And this is something that when I've spoken to some lawyers on kind of our side, Republican lawyers, they don't say this is a slam dunk one way or the other. This may be a 50-50 case. So in 2001, however, which is the latest information that I can find from, at that time, Susan Beisowitz's office from the Secretary of State, there was another legal opinion by attorney Mary S. Young. And I will hand this up to you if you don't mind. And basically what that stated is that there is and I'm going to read it verbatim, but you guys have it in front of you. State law is silent on the subject of term limits for municipal elected officials. It neither imposes a ban on or enacting term limits, nor does it expressly authorize towns to do so. My contention is that we could get lawyers probably on both sides to go ahead and adjudicate this. And this is where I think it gets a little political, and that's unfortunate. That's what I think this is that we have nobody with any standing on the Republican side. And so this is not something that I think should be litigated. I think the voters spoke in 2013. The other points that I do want to make, which I don't have enough copies for all of you, is what we have heard recently is that this is all new information. And that's what I heard at the March 16th Charter Revision Committee meeting and then the March 30th special session. That's what got my ire up a little bit, so I did some more research. And I have meeting minutes from the Charter Revision Committee on April 18th, 2016. And Chris Wilson, who I know very well and served with proudly on the Board of Ed, talked about the fact that term limits were not legal, and he offered some legal opinion. A second one that I found, March 19th, 2018, Chris Wilson, a little bit more information here, and even a letter from Rebecca Adams from the State Education Commission. Term limits are illegal. You see my points here. From 2013 right through to 2021, some of these arguments were potentially being made. And for me, I think the disturbing part of this is that in what I will call the 11th hour, and quite honestly, where we had really good discussions, and I was part of them, to change things of our charter, to give a 4-year term to our mayor, to give 4-year terms to the registrar, a lot of that was just thrown into asunder with legal opinions. I gave you one legal opinion. You may take it up and rip it and throw it apart. But I want you to all remember, in 2013, 78.3% of our voters thought the term limits were valid for Bristol. That's what they expect. I can't imagine in this day and age, after all the political stuff that we've been through, especially the last year, that number wouldn't be even higher. And I think you're all in a tough position, to be honest, because I don't know how that question reads. Do you think that term limits are illegal? Do you think we should have term limits? I can't imagine what that referendum question is going to look like on November of 2021. So I appreciate the time to give you my perspective and a little historical knowledge. I hope to make the May 13th meeting, but I'm not sure I'll be here. So thank you.
I believe we are going to address this issue, but I'll yield to see if there's anybody else that would like to voice an opinion before we do so. If anybody had arrived late and was not given the opportunity to sign up due to the opening ceremonies and currently would like to address the City Council, please come forward. We'd ask that you give your name and address for the record and speak directly into the microphone, which would allow people who are joining the meeting virtually to clearly hear what you're saying. Is there anybody here in chambers that would like to address the council? Okay. Seeing none in chambers, I am going to go to the virtual audience that is joining us tonight. This might be a little more complicated, so I think what I'm going to ask our virtual audience to do is that if you would like to speak during public participation, to start by unmuting yourself, which will give me the opportunity to see who might be interested in speaking. The same rules apply. Please state your name and your address so that we can have it for the record, and then we will proceed with your comments. At this point, I see that James Ritchie has unmuted himself, so we will start with him. If he could introduce himself and give his address for the record.
Thank you very much, Council. My name is James Ritchie. I'm a lifetime resident. I'm 67 years old, senior citizen in this Bristol, in this town. Matter of fact, I only live a quarter mile from where I grew up. I'm really speaking out on these term limits. I did read the entire legal opinion of one attorney, And again, that's his opinion. It's not a court case. And I actually went back and reviewed all the state statutes, Chapter 99, Section 7-191 through 7-194, and I cannot agree with him. The way the Constitution is set up, there's certain rights that are granted only to the federal government. All other are granted to the state, to the municipality. And if it's not explicitly applied or approved or denied, then it's up to the citizens to make that choice. We had a referendum. A majority of the people of the city of Bristol decided they wanted term limits. I think we should stand by that. If you want to take this decision down, bring it to court. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ritchie. Andrew Howe?
Yes, Madam Mayor. Andrew Howe, 70 John Avenue. I'm just kind of looking for an update on the Louisiana Avenue Bridge project. It's going on quite a while now, so I'm looking to see how much longer the project is going to take, being that it's a very walkable neighborhood. Parents from the schools are wondering how long we're going to have to deal with a mess until it's completely finished.
I believe that we are almost at the end of that project, although there is a scheduled road closure, I believe, for next week in order to do some of the finish work. But we do have our Public Works Director, Ray Rogozinski, who is in chambers. I'm going to ask him to come to the microphone so he can address your issue, and then we'll return to the term limits issue.
So work did start up. Ray Rogozinski, Director of Public Works for the City of Bristol. Work has restarted in the spring. We were temporarily shut down, although the road bridge was open over winter time. Work has started behind the barriers, as the mayor indicated. We do have a bridge closure coming up. It's and it will extend till May 17th.
Will the bridge be done at that point?
We'll reopen the bridge and continue to work on several minor items that won't impact traffic.
Okay. Are there any questions?
No, thank you, Madam Mayor.
Okay. Is there anybody else that is joining us virtually that would like to address the City Council? If so, please unmute so I can see that you're interested in making comment. Okay, at this point, I do not see anybody else that is interested in speaking. Is that the list inclusive, or does it go to a second page, Therese? That's everybody? Ooh, hold on. We have one more, Haley Gendron.
Hi, I just had one question. If there were any actions moving forward on the ongoing shootings happening in Bristol lately?
Okay, so we did have a shooting that was on Washington Street last weekend, and then there was another one alleged on Route 6. The police chief is here. So I am not privy to investigations that are being conducted, so maybe the chief can give a brief overview for everyone as to the standing of the department in relation to this.
Sure. Good evening. Yes, we have 2 open investigations going on both of those. We have suspect information developed, and we do have arrest warrants, I believe, pending on at least one of them, so we're looking to finish that out. But I can't speak much more on it because they are still active, but we have an idea of what's going on, and it's isolated at this point.
Is there anybody else virtually that would like to ask any questions of the council? Okay, so while we have everyone here, we do have an agenda item that if the council was so inclined, we could pull up. It is our item agenda 13 to acknowledge receipt of the charter revision draft report and schedule a city council public hearing for Thursday, May 13th, 2021. So this is per the process that we receive the report from Charter Revision and we schedule a public hearing. At that point, we take additional public input and comment, and we can take actions to accept, we can send back to the charter revision, and then I believe that we do have a joint meeting with them as well. Following those actions, we would complete the list of what we would present to our town and city clerk for what we wanted to go on the ballot. However, we do have a lot of work to do prior to that. As was alluded in public comments and in local media, it had been brought to our attention late in the process for charter revision that the provision of term limits for those 2 chapters that it covers may not have been lawfully authorized in their adoption in 2013. So keeping in mind the level of voting that occurred for those, we did do an intensive amount of homework and internal work as to determine how that happened, what happened, and what needed to be done in order to fix it in very plain terms. One of the questions was alluded to in a previous speaker's comments, and I'm going to ask our attorney staff to address some of this, but the basic level of what we've been able to determine is that the attorneys who were city attorneys at that time decided on a course of action and philosophy that followed home rule, which at the time made sense as an argument, and probably in terms of an argument to be put forward would be one that would be worth debating. What we determined is that since that home rule philosophy, which governed the 2013 charter revision conversation, that a different philosophy has emerged, which probably is a stronger argument concerning the construction of the term limits. The special act and the enabling legislation, which is Connecticut General Statute 7-148, which is what we're really looking at, where we get the majority of our powers, is where we're going to spend some time talking about that. But this gets in the weeds for a lot of people. So it's a good lesson about charter that everybody understands that from a special act, which is special permission, so to speak. We have the recall provision. We have extraterritorial eminent domain as a special act power. And our third one, is it initiative?
Yes.
Is that special act too? So we have 3. Recall, there's actually a town in Connecticut right now, according to one of our legal advisors, that thought they had recall and is actually going through the same conversation we're having here in Bristol about term limits. They're having it about recall, where they have also discovered that they did not have special act general enabling legislation in order to have that. So they're in the process of fixing their charter issue as well, which I thought was interesting. So in terms of a home rule, it was explained to me while we were doing this research in the Corporation Counsel's office that at that point in 2013, it was deemed a matter of local concern, which again made sense. So I do want to dispel the thought process that there was any kind of randomness or inappropriate activity that took place in 2013. It wasn't. They really believed as they went through the process that that home rule piece was going to be important and would cover them in terms of their charter activity. But at this point, it probably makes more sense to have Corporation Counsel Clift come forward. He is the head legal advisor for the city, not just the mayor's office, and unfortunately does not receive health benefits, even though he probably deserves them. But why don't you come to the podium and explain where we are in our status in terms of this discussion that we've been having both publicly and privately in terms of where we feel we need to go with this.
Sure, Mayor, thank you. I'm getting the message here that my opinion has not been very popular among quite a few people. But nonetheless, it is an opinion that I feel that I have to maintain. And it is my position as the chief legal authority of the city to determine what the statutes state, what is legal and what is not. And again, I've also heard some comments that this all was thrust upon us kind of at the last moment, which kind of validates the point that I made earlier. I did not go looking for trouble or looking to try and invalidate term limits. It came about as the result of another charter revision. I guess it was
forum.
A forum, right, that the mayor was invited to participate in that involved such questions as, strong mayor versus city manager form of government. And then there was a discussion, I believe, former New Haven Mayor DeStefano was part of that panel, a number of other people that are considered to be very well versed in charters. And it came out during that forum that we had term limits for certain municipal officers, and that would be city council, mayor, and Board of Education commissioners. And it caught a lot of people by surprise. They said, oh, well, you must have a special act. Well, we don't. So obviously then the search went to look for a general statute that would empower us to have adopted term limits, and there is none. So that caused me to then hire an outside counsel with particular expertise in this area to do a survey, and we've done a complete survey of all of the case law, and my conclusion is that a municipality, unless it has it in a special act, does not have the authority to adopt term limits either by ordinance or by amending its charter. So, of course, it would have been very easy to kind of just look the other way, let things ride the way that they're going along, but I have a saying that trouble can come from well-meaning provisions that are not well-grounded in law. And if indeed the law provides that we don't have the authority to adopt term limits, if we deviate from that, it does weaken our legal system. And I think the problem that I am concerned about is that if we allow this to go uncorrected, it's going to create a precedent, and it can be exploited in the future by persons wanting to take maybe additional steps to have our charter or our ordinances have provisions to rule the activities of our citizens when they don't have the authority to do that. And there are things that come to mind. Do we have the authority, for example, if we were to decide that, well, we would like every business in Bristol to have health care for its workers, regardless of how few or how many employees they would have? Well, I would point out immediately, well, we don't have the authority under either the general statutes or in a special act that would allow us to adopt that kind of a provision. There have been attempts in the past to have this city, through charter or otherwise, adopt gun control rules and regulations. We don't have the authority to do that. There were, I believe, some attempts to have even stricter regulation on abortion. This predates me, but I've heard that in the past things like this have happened. So I don't think, if people really think about it, I don't think they want, no disrespect intended, the Pauls out here to be able to regulate the activities of the citizens of Bristol when there really is no authority for them to do so. So we have discussed a way of perhaps correcting this. It does appear, admittedly, that it's a popular thing, municipal term limits, and so why would we want to oppose it? But again, I feel that sometimes well-meaning provisions that are done not in the right way, that they create a problem. So I think we have to look to our state legislator to see if we can get the authority and clear this up.
Right. So in that vein, I have prepared a letter that I've given to the City Council for your review earlier. I'd like to read it into the record. It is dated April 13th, 2021. It is addressed to Senator Martin and Representatives Betts, Ziogas, and Pavlak. At tonight's City Council meeting, I will put forward a vote for the City Council to vote on a resolution to request that you introduce legislation in order to allow municipalities to enact term limits if they so choose. As I am sure you are aware, the process that the city's Charter Revision Commission followed in 2013 was done without the appropriate authority, and the City Council needs to take action to rectify this by ensuring that the city has the appropriate authority from the state legislature in order to honor the wishes of the electorate that voted for term limits in 2013. In addition to sending the issue back to the voters for corrective action, we also request legislative consideration that might result in our ability to reenact municipal term limits. In consultation with our legal staff and charter revision expert attorney Stephen Mednick, we believe that approaching the legislature and asking them to amend Connecticut General Statute 7-148 sections would be the most expeditious manner in order to achieve this goal. Please do not hesitate to contact my office or Corporation Counsel Wylendale Clift if you require any additional information. And it is signed by me. It is CC'd to the City Council, our legal staff, the Town and City Clerk, and the Office of the Registrars of Voters for informational purposes. So if it is the pleasure of the council, the first motion that would be appropriate is to bring agenda item 13 to the table.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. The first item is to have a motion to receive the Charter Revision Report from the Charter Revision Commission and to set down Thursday, May 13th as the day of the public hearing in which we will take in public comment on this Charter Revision draft.
So moved.
Second.
The motion has been made and seconded. This is the first step that we're doing in order to follow the process that's set out. Is there any questions?
Mayor,
Yes?
I just wanted to address, the Charter Revision sent us a 45-page document, basically their report with what they'd like on the ballot. The beginning of that was a narrative that basically explained the provisions. And in their conclusion, they did recommend that we hire professionals to look at our charter. We've discussed, I've been on the City Council since 2013, and I think every year we've talked about areas of the charter that are antiquated or don't reflect how we do business in Bristol, some of the definitions, and these are all very difficult things to change one at a time by bringing them one at a time, year after year, for a vote. And that a major rehaul of redoing the entire charter, putting it in simpler language, putting it in perhaps better order, things like that could be done. And this current Charter Revision Commission is asking us to hire someone to do some of that work to make recommendations prior to the next Charter Revision Commission. Would that be something we could do before our term ends this year so that that work could be done before the beginning of the next term?
I think it could be. I think that that is also something that we should put on the agenda for further discussion on May 13th so that we can move that forward. So, okay, so to go back to the main motion, we have a motion to receive and to schedule the public hearing for May 13th. The motion has been made and seconded. We've had discussion. Is there additional conversation? Okay, hearing none, all in favor of that motion?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Now, if Councilman Fortier wants to make that in the form of a motion that the agenda for May 13th also reflect discussion about a long-term overhaul of the charter in general with the assistance of a charter revision expert or consultant, do you want to make that?
So moved.
Okay, so it's been moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion?
Great idea.
Agreed.
So, I mean, just for the viewing and listening public, some of the areas that the Charter Revision Commission asked us to look at includes the modernization of language. We also have job descriptions throughout the charter, which becomes very unwieldy at times. So they suggested that we look at removing or retaining job descriptions within the charter language. There is also job duties that are put in. There's a variety of procedures, including the width of streets and the height of curbs and all types of things that might be better served in ordinance. And also, promotional processes are in stone in the charter, which has made it very difficult in certain processes as well. So those are kind of an overview for those who are following this issue of what is going to most likely be looked at, as well as technical revisions, renumbering of sections, and consolidating it in a more reader-friendly and user-friendly way. So we will add that as an agenda item for May 13th. In general, this report that we will put on the website so people can read it, it consists of 4 sections. The first one, Schedule A, covers the term limits. Schedule B is the 4-year term for mayor. Schedule C is the 4-year term for the registrars of voters, and the Schedule D is the technical revisions that have been recommended. So all of that will be part of the May 13th meeting, and we will take under advisement Councilman Fortier's suggestion that it's time for a consultant to deal with these issues, which I think is a great suggestion.
Mayor, just a correction, I think the 4-year term for mayor was not included, but the making the treasurer position an unelected, or rather an appointed position, is included in their final report. Just to, I don't want people to
Right. You're right.
quote
I
us.
think I have my old set of notes, but that actually, in light of the term limit issue, was, I believe, removed from the table at
Correct.
the last meeting. Okay. So the city treasurer issue from elected to appointed stayed. So that's, did we vote on this yet, on your motion?
We did not, and I just had one last comment. So
Councilman
I just wanted to say that, I agree with Councilwoman Fortier. I think it was definitely smart to put this into motion now, considering we're also looking at the ordinances and kind of modernizing the literal infrastructure within City Hall as well, kind of looking at that as one big package of increasing accessibility, making it easier for voters to understand, the rules of the city and taxpayers to do business with the city. I think it's really important. So I'm proud that we're going to be able to put all this together and start these things in motion, because really what it does is it helps enable the taxpayer to be more educated and easily access information that helps them to understand these kinds of issues when they come up without legal assistance. So
No, it will. And the modernization piece, I can speak from personal experience that our fire chief retired on December 31st. And based on the process that's outlined in the city charter, we just had interviews, a written piece, which is required by charter, and an oral interview piece that was this week. So we are now talking 3.5 months. So from the perspective of having a department, because they had to follow the charter, be without a department head for a length of time, and that is, still continuing, is probably the best modern day example of what we have to do. So there's other pieces of it, but that's the one that I'm dealing with right now, and it's 3.5 months right now, and we're not done. So let's vote on this, because I do think that that's a good step forward to solve some of these longstanding issues, and then we'll move on to our legislative piece. If there's no other comments, all in favor of the motion put forward by Councilman Fortier, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. So back to the letter that I read into the record. If the council is comfortable with this, we can vote to authorize this resolution tonight that I can then send to our legislative delegation. I would just like to note that Senator Martin was on the city council in 2013, and so he testified on several occasions about term limits in front of the charter revision, as did several of his colleagues. So he will be probably someone who we could ask to be the lead on this and make sure that the legislature can give us what we need in order to honor the wishes of the public in terms of the term limit vote. Somebody like to make that in the form of a motion to forward the letter?
So moved.
Second.
And I did see my typo about corrective versus correction, so I will fix that. Any further discussion about the letter?
I just wanted to say that, I'm glad that we're going in this direction, because as was heard through public participation, obviously, having this done by, in a legal, with the legal, or with the legislative team, I think is the best way to go about starting this process. To be honest, I wasn't voting in 2013 on term limits, so I really don't have a strong opinion. I do believe in the elections that we have every year, that is in its way a term limit. I can't just come back here in November if I lose and say I'm a city council person, my term limit is ended. But to that regard, I think that it's really important that we're going down this road first and having this explored further. But I don't think it's something that can be ignored once you know about it.
And excuse me, through the chair, it's not only the best way, it's the only way to remedy it. And I think that needs to be stressed.
The other method is to send this question back to the voters for charter revision for the ballot in the hopes that they understand the issue and take the corrective action necessary. But, it's a hard issue. Our charter questions are always met with concern from people about how they're worded, what it means, and sometimes we don't get the result that we expect. So I think that this is the safety net that we need the legislators to make this happen for us.
Your Honor, I need to say just one thing. The Charter Revision is a group which is nonpartisan. The discussion that came as a result of the attorney's suggestion and facts was just that. We had Republicans, Democrats, and I believe some independents that all agreed that this needed to be addressed. If we want to discuss ideas, let's discuss ideas. If we want to disagree, we can disagree. But to feign anger over thinking that it's a partisan issue is just disingenuous, and it's not appropriate here. So I would hope that the discussion that we have in the future is based on ideas and not political posturing. Thank you.
That would be nice. Anything else? All in favor of forwarding this letter to our legislative delegation and asking them to provide the appropriate remedy, please say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. All right, so back to our agenda. We are now down to our announcements. I will start on my far left.
None from me.
None from me.
Your Honor, I have one quick one. The Main Street Community Foundation has announced that nonprofits can apply for grants through its general grant cycle beginning April 15th, and the applications are due by May 14th. The foundation has a website if you need further information, but that's an important part for our nonprofits locally. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Rosado?
I have none, Your Honor.
Councilman Hahn?
Yes, Your Honor, I just have one. Flyers were sent to homes on Shrub Road to schedule a meeting to talk with neighbors about regarding possible sidewalks. The mayor, Nancy Levesque from Public Works, Councilman Rosado, and myself are going to be at the Barnes Nature Center this weekend on Friday evening and Saturday morning to talk to the neighbors about the sidewalks being proposed on the north side of Shrub Road. This is happening because we've been receiving many people expressing concerns, walking on the road, and requesting sidewalks for quite some time. So it's nice that this has finally come to fruition. That's scheduled for this weekend.
Okay, thank you. Councilman Kelly, any announcements?
I do not. Thank you.
Okay. I have two brief ones. Good signs of spring and summer. The Bristol Auto Club has decided to resume their car shows on the first and third Saturdays at Northside Square. Typically, they do them every Saturday, but as in view of COVID and the age of their members and the safety of the community, they're going to decrease them to twice a month. So they will be the first and third Saturdays starting in May. So that was good news since they missed their season last year as well. And also for the Bristol Blues, we are waiting on their final schedule, but it does appear that there will be baseball at Muzzy Field this summer. And along those lines, this is the first season that they will be in their new league, the NECBL, which is bringing in additional players from all over the country. It is a step above the Futures League, so there's a more competitive play. And we are down 3 beds for players. So if anybody is interested in opening their home to host a Bristol Blues player from approximately Memorial Day to the first week of August, depending on how playoffs go, we are looking for people or families. We have several families in Bristol who have been doing it for this will be the 6th season. It's a very rewarding experience. I can speak for it personally. I believe this year we have Councilman Rosado joining us. Yes. Okay. Councilman Kelly, you have some empty bedrooms.
I'm seriously considering it, Mayor.
Okay, well, the season starts in a month, so Councilman Proleski has hosted?
I have.
Yep.
You are our sports agent.
Yeah. So if anybody is interested in being a host family, you can either contact me at the mayor's office, and I can put you in touch with Tammy Kelly, who is helping with the host family assignments, or you can call the Bristol Blues office yourself and get hooked up with what is required. So we're looking forward to both the car shows, baseball, and everything else that hopefully summer will hold for us. Moving on to the consent calendar, we do have some items that we do need to pull off. Let's see. Who has items that they would like to remove?
Your Honor, could we remove item J?
Okay.
Further discussion.
We're going to remove item J. Are there any other items that we have to remove?
Your Honor, can we remove item T?
Item T is now off, and I believe there's one more that has to come off.
Yes, Your Honor. Item N, please. N is in Nancy.
Okay. So right now I'll be looking for a vote to approve the consent calendar 5A through T minus J, N, and T. I don't have a motion to that effect. Where's Roger? Do I need to remove Q for South Side?
Did we amend the amount?
We were concerned the amount
Did-
amount might be different.
Wasn't it 275 at council, at finance?
The amount is correct for 318? Okay, that's what I thought. Okay. Okay. All right. So we're removing.
So moved to the original motion.
Okay, so we have approved the consent calendar for 5A through S. We have removed N, T, and J. Who would like to discuss item J?
Well, I'll second the motion.
Okay, thank you. All in
Sorry.
favor?
Aye.
Okay. Who has J?
You have it? I think I removed J. I think there was some clarification, I believe, Therese?
Well, Scott has it, I think.
Yes, we need to change the amount and specify the contractor. So the contractor will be Action Air Systems, Inc., and the correct bid amount is $163,649.
Okay. So for item 5J, it is to award contract 2C21-063 rooftop air handling unit at the Board of Education Administration Building to Action Air Systems in the amount of $163,649 and to authorize the mayor or acting mayor to execute any and all documents necessary.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item N.
All right, so I just wanted to have this pulled off because I know that this project, I think, will be something that folks might want to be aware of that's happening. And sometimes when it's in the consent calendar, it just kind of blends into the background. So there will be a project going on to replace the bridge from the entrance of Memorial Boulevard, which goes over the Pequabic River, kind of like as you come out from 72, heading towards downtown. That piece there will be replaced, and it's going to be replaced with something that really looks the part and sets the stage for what you'll be seeing as you enter the city. I think, I've gone to a lot of different organizations to talk to them and hear what they have to say, and often I hear when you're driving into Bristol, it's not exciting. You don't feel like you've entered somewhere worth visiting sometimes. And I think that this gateway will really change the way that people coming from the highway into our city get to see all the beautiful things about Bristol. So I'm excited for that project. I don't know if do we have it available to share online?
That was my one job, and I failed to bring it
You failed
downstairs.
your one job. No, but so maybe we can have it, can we have it added to the agenda after? I'll get the picture and I'll post it on my Facebook so that way you can see it, or the mayor's office can post it too, possibly. Is that not doable? We'll figure it out.
Maybe Ray wants to go upstairs to second floor and grab the rendering from outside the parks office.
Oh, he's a gem.
He's a good
For
man.
now, just imagine it in your head, the
'Cause
most
this is his
beautiful bridge you've
project.
ever seen, and it'll be here in Bristol, and I'm really excited for it. I think it's going to be a nice project, and it doubles, not only is it going to be beautiful, but it also honors the many soldiers who fought in overseas wars since 9/11. So I think it'll be a nice piece to add to our Memorial Boulevard.
And we are doing several bridge replacements in that area. We're also doing the East Street Bridge and then the Down Street Bridge. So there's a lot of work going on, and a lot of this is going to be foreshadowing the Memorial Boulevard, the roadways 100th anniversary that's coming up this fall. And then obviously the next year we will be celebrating the 100th anniversary of the Memorial Boulevard building and also the opening of the new school. So it's a nice area in which to do this bridge introduction because it is a gateway. You know, we do a lot of bridge replacements. Louisiana, we're doing Copper Mine soon. But Ray Rogozinski, our Public Works Director, really deserves the credit for having that thought process that if we're going to do this bridge, let's do something bigger than what we've done. So the architectural renderings that, I'm talking so that we can get Ray back down here, that hopefully you can see soon, really inspire as you enter that Memorial Boulevard. So I think it's really going to be beautiful. I know that Councilman Rosado, you took it to the Veterans Council, and I believe that they were very happy with it as well, hopefully.
He's fast.
Oh, wow, Ray, that was good. So for our friends on Nutmeg, where would you like this? Where would you like us to bring these photos? So people, yeah, we need another helper for Ray. Okay. That camera? Okay. So here's some architectural renderings of what the bridge entry is going to look like as you're approaching from 229, heading west onto Memorial Boulevard. So hopefully that gets an idea for everyone to see what we're looking at. So the bridge project has been bid and awarded. Some of the architectural elements and the spires is going to be bid separately. So we'll be seeing more on this project in the near future. So right now, I'd like to have a motion to award contract 2C21056, the rehabilitation of Bridge 04105, Memorial Boulevard over the Pequabic River, to Trademark Contractors, LLC, which is a local company here in Bristol, for $2,670,229.75, and to authorize the mayor or acting mayor to execute any and all documents necessary.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Ray, is this a 50% grant? Okay, so this bridge is being funded with a 50% grant from the state. Okay. So, any further comments? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. And then last, we have item T, and Councilman Prolesky is asked to pull that off.
Yeah, thank you, Your Honor. The the contract recipient is a member or a client of my law firm, and although we've had nothing to do with the relationship here with the city, I think it's more appropriate that I abstain, so I'm not part of the vote.
Okay, so Councilman Prolesky will be recusing himself from item 5T, and that item is to award contract 2C21-059, the pump park within Rockwell Park, to Country Gardens of Bristol, LLC, another local company, for $60,100, and to authorize the mayor or acting mayor to execute any and all documents necessary. And again, this activity to add a pump park as an ancillary activity for our mountain bike trails is being funded with a national grant from the National Park Association, and now we are putting out the contract for Country Gardens.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries with one abstention. Thank you. Okay. Moving on to, I think I voted on that. Didn't we do that first?
I thought we did that first. We did all but.
We did all but and then pulled off 3. So now we're moving on to the reports and committee reports. The first 3 items, is from the Real Estate Committee.
Yes, Your Honor. I'd like to make a motion. I hereby move that the City of Bristol enter into exclusive right to sell listing contract with Keller Williams Realty to sell lot number 12 Waterbury Road. I further move that this matter be referred to Corporation Counsel to prepare and/or review any necessary documents. I further move that the mayor or acting mayor be authorized to execute any necessary documents to effectuate the same.
Is there a second? Discussion.
Your Honor, we have, this came up in real estate because there was a neighbor that is interested in this. And in the interest of transparency, we felt it best to put on the market so that any other parties could also bid.
Okay, thank you. There's no other discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next item.
Next, I hereby move to authorize the mayor or acting mayor to renew a lease agreement with Bristol Hospital Incorporated and/or its assigns for the benefit of the Bristol Infant Child Program for the city-owned property located at 11 Bellevue Avenue, Bristol, Connecticut, for a term of 1 year commencing on or about June 15th, 2021 through on or about June 15th, 2022. The total rent paid by the tenant shall be $1,500 per month for a total of $18,000 per year. I further move that this matter be referred to Corporation Counsel's office to effectuate the same.
Is there a second? Discussion? I would just like to note that this is the Bristol Hospital's WIC office, that they are located there. They co-located with the Parent and Child Program, which we took in under the Youth and Community Services umbrella, and it has been a great synergy having them there on staff with our Youth and Community Services as well as the Parent and Child Program. So I'm glad to see that they're interested in continuing their lease and helping financially support that building. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. And 6C.
And finally, I hereby move that the mayor or acting mayor be authorized to accept the condemnation amount of $20,000 from the State of Connecticut Department of Transportation for 4,520 plus or minus square feet of city-owned property known as 176 School Street. The purpose of this condemnation of 4,520 square feet of 176 School Street is to allow the State of Connecticut Department of Transportation to complete the project known as Major Intersection Improvements on Route 72 at Route 69. I hereby further move that this matter be referred to Corporation Counsel to effectuate the motion.
Second.
Discussion. So I think it's important to note that the state is in the acquisition stage right now, and the project is going to be continuing through, this phase of the project is continuing through the fall as they discuss acquisition and condemnation from other owners as well and settle on sums of money. There is also a relocation package that is being offered to some of the businesses that are affected, so that is ongoing at this time, and we anticipate construction in the spring. Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Are there any other items from the Real Estate Committee before we move on?
None, Your Honor.
Okay, then let's move on to Salary Committee, item D.
Thank you, Your Honor. I have a motion to approve changes to wages and healthcare cost sharing for non-bargaining employees as presented, effective July 1st, 2021, and to refer to the Board of Finance.
Second.
Discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Are there any other items from salary? Okay, hearing none, we will move on to item E, which is from the Ordinance Committee.
Thank you, Your Honor. We had a public hearing on Section 5-19, and this new language was brought by our Chief Building Official, Mr. Brown. I hereby move that Chapter 5, Building and Building Regulations, Section 5-19, fees of the Code of Ordinances for the City of Bristol is hereby amended as presented. I further move that the city clerk publish said amendments and additions to the Code of Ordinances, and that they become effective upon the expiration of 14 days from the date of their publication in a newspaper of general circulation in the City of Bristol.
Second.
Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. And the next item from ordinance.
Thank you, Your Honor. This is for a public hearing regarding the introduction of amendments for open burning ordinances, which is really designed to clarify what is permittable, how to do it, and how to do it safely. You might imagine with the summer season, we have already had over 20 calls from neighborhoods and regarding open burning. So this is something that's, I think, both important to us and our neighborhoods and our police department. In accordance to section...
And our fire department.
What did I say?
Our fire department as well.
Police too, I think. Since chief is there. Yeah, you're right, fire department. Thank you, Mary. In accordance with section 21F of the Charter of the City of Bristol, the following amendments to the Code of Ordinance, section 7-17, are hereby introduced. I hereby move that the time and place of Tuesday, May 4th, 2021, at 5:15 in the first floor meeting room, City Hall, 111 North Main Street, Bristol, Connecticut, be set for the holding of a public hearing thereon by the Ordinance Committee, and that the city clerk publish notice of said public hearing and the proposed amendments to the Code of Ordinances as required by the city charter.
So moved.
Second?
I just want to,
Discussion?
I just want to thank the ordinance committee for moving so swiftly on that recommendation from the fire commission. I know they'll be glad to hear that it's already moving forward to public hearing, so thank you.
Thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. And Councilman Perleski, do you have anything to report from the Memorial Boulevard Interdistrict Arts Magnet School?
Thank you, Your Honor. The committee continues to meet monthly. If you drive by the property, you'll see that the activity is frenetic. This past month, they actually cleaned the outside of the building, and it really looks tremendous, I think. We're still on time in budget, and you think about it, the delivery of the building to the city should be in about 14 months.
Mm-hmm.
So they're moving quickly, and we're still on time and in budget.
Good news.
Thank you.
Moving on to Councilman Kelly, committee reports.
Yes, I have a school readiness.
Close to the
Your
microphone,
Honor.
please. Closer.
That close?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, the Little Read 2021 is back this year. It took a year off because of the pandemic, and each preschool and kindergarten classroom in Bristol will receive a book, Rio and Silas with Love, and this is authored by a Bristol resident, Michelle Keene, and she was nice enough to sign every book for us. And during April, this book is going to be read in every classroom, and the message is centered around belonging and love between Rio and Silas, which are two dogs.
Are you going to read us the book?
When I get my autographed copy, yes, I will. And what is also exciting is the school readiness grant manager is participating in a parent leadership training institute, and part of this training involves completing a community project. And that project is going to be something that is called a story walk. And this initiated in Montpelier, Vermont, I believe about 12 years ago. And the concept of the walk is the pages are blown up and enlarged, placed in succession throughout Rockwell Park. So parents can walk with their children, get exercise, read, and hopefully it's a good memory for them. And the completion of this project is slated for June of 2021. And finally, and once again, not to sound like a broken record, but if parents can register their children for kindergarten, go to the Board of Education website, click on Central Registration, and there's a separate link for kindergarten registration. We would really appreciate everyone doing that. It's necessary. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, moving on. Do we have anything from Arts and Culture?
Yes, Your Honor, thank you. I'd like to give an update on the search for the Arts and Culture Supervisor. Out of the resumes received, 8 were interviewed last week in a panel interview that was conducted on Monday. And out of the panel interviews, we saw 3 strong candidates that were selected for the next round. The great thing about that is they were all unanimously agreed to. So it was a consensus on those 3 candidates. The next round of interviews are going to happen tomorrow. Those 3 will be interviewed again tomorrow, and we're hoping to have this all wrapped up by the end of April. Thank you.
Great. Thank you. Councilman Rosado.
Yes. For Parks and Rec, sounds blurry. for Parks and Rec, I just wanted to address the pump park at Rockwell that we awarded the contract to this evening, to Country Gardens. Again, all the monies regarding that contract were grant funded. I want to thank everyone that had a part in bringing the mountain bike trail and the pump park to life. You know, it's really been, they've been instrumental in revitalizing Rockwell Park and looking at it from a different view of activities that we probably never thought were right there in our own park. So I want to thank them as well. For Bristol Parks and Rec, program registration is available for summer activities. Please visit www.bristolrec.com and see what activities you'd like to sign up for. First come, first serve usually. So that'll be good if you guys want to react on that. We're also hiring for a variety of seasonal summer positions like lifeguards, camp counselors, and desk attendants. So again, applications are available at Bristol Rec, www.bristolrec.com. Please stay tuned for the Page Park Pool grand opening sometime in June. Details will be following. The renovation is amazing, and the work that they've done is just amazing. So be ready for that in June. For police, in light of National Public Safety Telecommunications Week, I'd like to take a moment and recognize our public safety communications team and the Bristol Dispatch. Our dispatch team is basically the first point of contact when an emergency requiring the use of 911 is utilized. They pick up the call, ascertain what is happening, and then take the responsibility of getting help to the scene as quickly as possible. If I can recall correctly, they receive over 60,000 calls a year. That equates to over 160 calls a day. Great job, and we thank you for your dedication and professionalism to handling our emergencies. I'd like to congratulate Corey St. Pierre on becoming Bristol's newest school research officer. Corey was selected after an intense interview process with many great candidates vying for the same position. Corey's knowledge, determination, and professionalism will allow him to excel in his new position, and we look forward to having him serve in our community. For cadet and graduation update, our 2 graduates from the academy are progressing well. They're currently under the observation of our field training officers, and we currently have 2 cadets enrolled in the academy, and they are performing very well.
No, it's not.
Oh, God. What did I miss? No. Not yet.
All right. Moving on, retirement board,
Thank you, Your Honor.
directly to the microphone.
Yes, ma'am. Very quickly, the Retirement Board has solicited proposals for investment manager services. We've used Hooker and Holcomb as our consultant. We've received a number of proposals, and the committee is meeting this week to pare it down and interview. Thank you.
Okay. Anything from the Fire Commission?
Yes, I do, Your Honor. So I just wanted to share that you may have seen the firefighters outside with some heavy equipment doing some landscaping work on the corner of Center and North Main Street. And so at the firefighters' headquarters, they are doing a restoration project and also expansion of their IAFF monument, which stands for the International Association of Firefighters, which is the union. And then they also have a fallen firefighters monument. But since this year is also going to be the 20th anniversary of a day where many firefighters lost their lives or sacrificed it for 9/11, they would like to add a 9/11 memorial as well. So the project is already underway, but they're still accepting donations. It is fueled by donations. I was able to donate to them through PayPal, so if you want information from that, let me know. But you can also send donations by mail to the Bristol Firefighters Memorial Fund at P.O. Box 984 and Bristol, CT. So again, that P.O. Box is 984. If you do want to make a virtual donation, let me know. I can link you up. I'm the person for that. But they would greatly appreciate your donation, and it also enhance the landscaping of our downtown area. So
We have a sign shop at the Public Works Department, and they were able to turn around a project sign that is going to be hung there hopefully tomorrow. So I'd like to thank the Public Works Department for that. That sign shop is really coming in handy for all the COVID signage that we've had to do, everything that needs to be done in buildings, but also for special projects like this. So for anyone who didn't get a chance to write down that PO box, you can drive by headquarters and you can see the sign, and it also has the donation information on there as well.
And one last thing, I'll just do a shout out to the library workers. It was national, if we're talking about national weeks, National Library Workers Week was last week, and very grateful for all the work that they do for the community, especially in the pandemic. They tried to provide plenty of opportunities for events virtually, and it's great working with that team. They really care about providing that quality of life to Bristol, so congratulations to them as well.
Thank you. Councilman Fortier.
I just have a report from the Pine Lake Committee. As you know, the Pine Lake Committee has sponsored a fishing derby for many years, and they did take last year off due to COVID, but they're reinstating their fishing derby, and it will be Saturday, May 8th. And that information will be on the city's website soon if it's not already there.
Okay, that's good news as well. Moving into unfinished business, I did list our citywide COVID update as well as American Rescue Plan information. So basically, we continue to work at COVID mitigation, COVID response every day. All the departments are engaged. With the 1 year marking of COVID and the pandemic, you can see in chambers, and I'm sure you've seen around town, we are doing a shout out to our essential workers. Some of them are pictured here in the chambers, Public Works, Fire, Police, Parks, our City Hall staff, librarians, and also our health partners, our health district partners. So this has been an ongoing activity that all city employees and departments have had to incorporate into their already established schedules. We are very happy that the majority of our essential workers in the community as a whole are being vaccinated and are seeking vaccinations. That continues to be the major challenge. So what we've done in Bristol is the mayor's office coordinates a weekly call with all of our healthcare providers that we have. Bristol Health, the Bristol Burlington Health District, and community health centers. We've all been collaborating in order to make sure that we can leverage our resources. So everybody has varying volumes of vaccine that are delivered. And so as those volume is adjusted, if somebody has more, we can direct people back and forth amongst our entities. The collaboration between Bristol Health and the Health District for the ESPN North Campus has been working out great. Bristol Health is in the process of doing second doses, and they will eventually move their entire vaccination operation to ESPN North. Meanwhile, Community Health Centers is continuing to augment what the Health District is doing for vaccinations, and they are also visiting congregate housing facilities in order to reach those vulnerable populations. And this past week, we had a new player join us, which is our Human Resources Agency, which is located on South Street. They are also going to be partnering with CHC in order to do outreach mobile vaccination clinics to at-risk populations. Our local pharmacies are doing them as well, and while people do have some frustration about using VAMs, there are other appointment lines that you can use that do not require VAMs. And if anybody needs any help, they can call our All Heart hotline, as Ann Cusano did last Thursday, who is 96 and needed a ride to her appointment that Bristol Health had squeezed her in for. So if I could have gotten a picture of Chief Gould carrying her purse as we delivered her to Bristol Health, that would have been worth a lot of money someday. But she was very happy. And as we've heard from a lot of our seniors, the social isolation aspect of the pandemic has really harmed them, and they're very interested in getting back out and resuming some activities. So hats off to Ann. Thank you to the chief. Thank you to Andy Adams, who's here tonight, for guiding us through the process once we got her there. There is opportunity for people to be vaccinated if they so choose. And I've also been very heartened to see that some of our younger employees here in the building who passed the first time they were eligible are now coming back and saying that they're interested in being vaccinated. So we hope that that trend continues. Marco Palmieri's notes as of March 20th or so showed that about 50% of the eligible adults that were eligible to get the vaccine had done so. So that is a really proud number for Bristol, and we're also seeing that we're doing a lot with the younger population now that they're eligible as well. And a lot of that hinges on the fact that many of them, as you saw with our basketball players tonight, chose that their virtual education in order to preserve their eligibility for sports and activities. And that was a very difficult personal choice, as Coach Barrett pointed out, but it's now one that they can actually change and go back to school, see their friends, and have somewhat of a normalized education because these vaccines are available. So that's been great news as well. We did have a little hiccup today with the Johnson & Johnson vaccine being taken off temporarily, hopefully. We had planned to do some outreach clinics in Rockwell Park next week. We are still hoping to do those in conjunction with the state and some of their mobile vaccination units, but we're just not sure which vaccine is going to be offered. So we are having a call on Thursday. We'll be working with the Parks Department, probably using Mrs. Rockwell's playground, but also doing bilingual outreach to that neighborhood. So to encourage people to come and those who are park users as well. So once we have more information on that and what the vaccine is going to be, because that is of interest to a lot of people, we will let everybody know and get those dates out. We believe that we will have approximately 750 vaccines that we will have available in Rockwell Park. The other issue, as you saw earlier with our budget issues, we are still waiting on American Rescue Plan guidance. The controller and I have started a list of things that we think we can spend that money on, as has the Board of Education. It cannot hit our budget because they are finite dollars. But we're also trying to work with all of our partners. We are planning a program for economic aid and recovery for the business community, and we want to work with our nonprofit partners. But in addition to the American Rescue Plan dollars that are coming to Bristol specifically, there are pockets of other money that are being made available through the American Rescue Plan that are housed at the state. And today we received a request from Coral Richardson, who runs the Imagination Museum and Early Learning Child Center. They are eligible for a pool of money for children's museums for stimulus funding in the amount of $2.5 million. And she has asked us, the City Council, to endorse that proposal and for me to write a letter on our behalf asking the Appropriations Committee to approve that carve out, so to speak. We know what the children have gone through, and so really partnering for over the summer with children's museums and activities sounds like a great use of some of those dollars that have come to the state of Connecticut. So if everybody is so inclined and wants to do that, I will be happy to write that letter to support the Imagination Museum tomorrow.
Do you want a motion?
Just, you could do a so moved.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Does anybody have any questions about American Rescue Plan or anything else? Okay. Moving on, does anybody else have unfinished business?
No.
Okay. And then item 8 is new business, and we are also planning a community cleanup for Saturday, April 24th. We're encouraging civic groups, organizations, neighborhoods, anybody that would like to come out. You can choose your area, you can do your own neighborhood, you can come to a park, but I think it would be very invigorating and also great community spirit if we can come out and kind of clean the dredges of the winter, of COVID, and everything else. We are funding this cleanup through our COVID cleanup funds. We are offering T-shirts, we are offering special masks, and also we have those grabber sticks so people don't have to actually touch the litter. So if anybody is interested in participating alone or as a group, you can call the office and talk to Kathy Savino. She will tell you what areas are available, or if you'd like to choose a group. We have several groups that have already signed up and some families that have signed up. So we're really looking to spend some time making Bristol look good and hopefully keeping it good. We have some litter problem areas, and we're obviously looking to give some special attention there, improve community education to prevent that from happening, and really kind of just engage everyone to get outside and have some fun on a Saturday. There are also prizes for the amount of trash collected, as well as any kind of unique trash items. And those are being gift cards that will be to area businesses that will be made available.
I'm interested to see the unique items.
well, remember what we pulled out of Rockwell Park last year?
Is there like a whole
Cleanups.
bike and, yeah.
So, and then the only other piece of new business that I wanted to bring forward is on Monday, we had a visit from the Deputy Commissioner of Economic and Community Development as we continue to push forward on receiving a part of our Urban Act funding that has really just languished at the state for a number of years. So Justin Malley and I have re-engaged on that process. And so she visited town to look at the project across the street. And tomorrow we have another commissioner, Commissioner Beth Bai, who is the Office of Early Childhood Education, and the Lieutenant Governor will be visiting Bristol Preschool with Councilman Kelly, myself, and Donna Osich. So we're getting a lot of state attention, and hopefully that is eventually going to translate into some dollars for some of our programs. Does anybody have any new business, starting on my far right?
I do not. Thank you.
No, Your Honor.
No, Your Honor.
No.
No.
Okay. Moving on to resignations. Do we have any?
There are no resignations, Your Honor.
Oh, wow.
Good. Moving on to appointments. We have 3 for our City Arts and Culture Commission. It is to reappoint Lindsay Vigu, Mark Walisiak, for 3-year terms to April of 2024.
So moved.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. And we have a new appointment to the City Arts and Culture Commission. That is April Dews for a 3-year term to April of 2024.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. The next one is a mayoral appointment to the Housing Authority, and it is to appoint Jeff Hawks to replace Andrew Time, who asked not to be reappointed due to a relocation. It is a 5-year term, which expires on December 31st, 2025.
So, or it's a
Yeah,
mayor's appointment.
that's just for the record. Next, municipal agent for the elderly is to reappoint Patricia Tomasek for a 2-year term to April of 2023.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. And the next is to add 2 people to our Diversity Council, Marcus Patton and Alice Washington. No terms.
So moved?
Second.
Discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. And for the Board of Parks Commissioners, I am making a motion to reappoint Malcolm Huckabee, who missed meetings and needs to be reappointed to his unexpired term, which runs through this December. I don't reappoint Section 2-9 appointments often because that is your one commitment, is to be able to come to the meetings. But as way of explanation, Malcolm Huckabee also works part-time for ESPN, and due to COVID and the fact that he is a resident here in Bristol, he was pulled in to cover an inordinate amount of games that were not already on his schedule, including the Wednesday night basketball games, which forced him to miss Parks Board meeting. He is committed to the Parks Commission, and I'd like to, in view of that, reappoint him to fill out his term through December of 2021.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion?
I'll add to that, he does a good job of following up with everything as well, so.
Yes.
Even though he misses some appointments, he is really receptive in gathering the information, so good call.
Thank you. Any other conversation? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next, I'd like to reappoint Michael Petosa and Patricia Bodwin for 3-year terms running to April of 2024 for the Bristol Parking Authority.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. And the last appointment for tonight is to appoint Craig Minor to replace David Hartley, who resigned, senior citizen at large member, for an unexpired term to January of 2023.
So moved.
Second.
And Craig Minor is here in the audience tonight, as is the new chairman of the Transportation Commission, Sean Gingery. So thank you for attending, and congratulations, Craig. You're going to be back up here on the dais sooner rather than later. Well, if the shoe fits. Okay. Okay.
I'm going to vote.
So that concludes appointments. I would just like to reiterate to everyone that I am looking for someone who would be willing to serve on the Bristol-Burlington Health District. This is a difficult board to fill because I do like to have someone who has some background, health issues. Obviously, we've been dealing with pandemic issues. We do have a dental program within the school systems. We do sanitation, code enforcement, housing issues. But they meet on the second Thursday of the month at 12:45. So if there's anybody out there who has that time slot, who has an interest in health policy and public health in general, right now I am looking for an unaffiliated or a Republican to serve on that board. But come this summer, if things continue the way they've been, I will also be looking for a Democrat to serve on that panel. I also potentially have a vacancy on a land use board. So for anybody who's interested, I am looking for resumes, or you can contact the office and we can have a conversation. But for right now, other than the Bristol-Burlington Health District, we are full for all of our boards and commissions. Now we're entering into the final part of our agenda. We have 3 items and 1 executive session.
Mayor, can we just back up and take a vote on Craig Minor's appointment?
Sure. All in favor of appointing him to the senior citizen slot on the Transportation Commission?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
And we seem to have some changing of the guard here. We've lost Chief Gould, but we've gained Deputy Chief Paggio. Are you here to just check in on us, Deputy Chief? Mm-hmm. Do we have to have a conversation after this? Okay. Moving on, we are at agenda item 11, approval of change orders to D'Amato Downs, a joint venture totaling $14,115.34 for the Memorial Boulevard Interdistrict Arts Magnet School, and to authorize the mayor or acting mayor to execute.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. What is this change order for, Councilman Proleski?
I really don't know.
Okay.
But it goes through our finance committee, so I'm sure it's been vetted.
Does it have to do with the windows?
I really don't know.
Okay. All in favor of the unknown $14,000 change order, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. And the next item is the resolution regarding the submission of a grant application up to $3,250 to Thomaston Savings Bank Foundation for the Police Youth Baseball League.
And Your Honor, the resolution wasn't necessary. They just used motions for the Thomaston Savings Bank, so you don't need a roll call vote.
Okay, good, thank you. So it will be a regular motion.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. This is for the Clemente League that runs at Cambridge Park from June through August. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We have already dealt with agenda item 13. So next is we are going to move into executive session regarding the matter of William Leone versus City of Bristol. Workers' compensation, there's 7 of them. And who will be joining us?
It'll be Attorney Stieg, myself, and Attorney Eric Bartlett will be joining us by phone.
Okay, so we need a motion to go into executive session. This will
moved.
hopefully be
sorry.
a short one.
So moved.
Okay,
Second.
second. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, we will hopefully be right back. Okay, so we're ready to reconvene into public session. Please let the record show that we did not have any votes taken in executive session. Is there any motions to come forward?
I have one, Your Honor. I hereby move that the City of Bristol enter into a full and final settlement in the matter of William L. Leone versus the City of Bristol for workers' compensation case number 601018216 from October 28, 1998, and workers' compensation case number 601042713 from May 4th, 2005, in consideration of a payment of $25,000. In addition, the City of Bristol shall fund the Medicare set-aside amount of $63,142,000. This settlement resolves the outstanding Connecticut General Statutes, Section 7-433C, claims entitled Benefits for Policemen or Firemen Disabled or Dead as a Result of Hypertension or Heart Disease. I further move that the City of Bristol enter into a full and final settlement for any and all workers' compensation claims filed by William L. Leone for the total amount of $156,500. The dates of these claims are listed below, but are not limited to, are for July 3rd, 1975, July 8th, 1977, January 13th, 1979, March 8th, 1982, March 26th, 1983, December 10th, 1983, November 20th, 1986, February 21st, 2000, May 25th, 2001, January 6th, 2002, and December 21st, 2003. I further move that the mayor, acting mayor, corporation counsel, or assistant corporation counsel be authorized to execute the full and final settlement.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Is there any other business to come before the city council?
Motion to adjourn?
Is there a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, everyone.